Hello everyone, and welcome to our comprehensive lecture series for UPSC and PCS aspirants. Today, we're diving deep into one of the most critical parts of the Indian Constitution. The fundamental rights. Spanning from Article 12 to 35, these rights are the bedrock of our democracy, and understanding them, along with their landmark Supreme Court interpretations, is non-negotiable for your exams. So, grab your notes, and let's begin. We start with Article 12, which defines the term state. Why is this important? Because fundamental rights are primarily enforceable against the state. The definition includes the government and Parliament of India, state governance and legislatures, and all local or other authorities within India or under the control of the Indian government. The term other authorities has been widely interpreted by the judiciary. Key cases to remember are Rajasthan Electricity Board versus Mohanlal, which expanded the definition, and Ajahaja versus Khalid Mujib, which laid down a 5-point test to determine if a body is an instrumentality of the state. The Pradeep Kumar Biswas case later refined this understanding. Next, Article 13. This article is the guardian of our fundamental rights. It declares that any law, pre-constitutional or post-constitutional, that is inconsistent with or takes away these rights shall be void. This is the foundation of judicial review. The doctrine of severability and doctrine of Eclipse are crucial concepts here, illustrated in cases like Bikajina. The biggest debate under Article 13 was whether a constitutional amendment is a law. This was battled out in the Galaknath case, which said amendments were law, and then famously overturned in the Keshavananda Bharati case of 1973, which established the basic structure doctrine, balancing parliamentary power with constitutional sanctity. Now, let's move to the right, to equality. From Article 14 to the SU. Article 14 guarantees equality before law and equal protection of the laws to every person. It forbids unreasonable classification. The modern, dynamic interpretation of equality came from the E.P. Royappa case, which stated that equality is antithetical to The Maneka Gandhi case further solidified this, linking Article 14 with Articles 19 and 21, remember the Anwar Ali Sarkar case, for understanding what constitutes a reasonable classification. Article 15 prohibits discrimination by the state against any citizen on grounds only of religion, race, caste, sex, or place of birth. It also allows for special provisions for women, children, and socially and educationally backward classes. The Champakung Dorea Ragin case was a landmark judgment that led to the first constitutional amendment, adding Clause 4 to Article 15. The Indrasani case, or the Mandel Commission case, is vital for understanding reservation policy, and the Jarnell case recently dealt with the concept of creamy layer in promotions for SEA. Article 16 provides for equality of opportunity in matters of public employment. It prohibits discrimination on the same grounds as Article 15, but adds descent and residence. Again, the Indrasoni case is monumental here, upholding the 27% OBC reservation but striking down reservation and promotions. The M. Nagarai and B.K. Pavitra cases further elaborated on the complex issues surrounding reservations. In promotions for SCS and STS, Article 17 abolishes untouchability and forbids its practice in any form. It's an absolute right, available against both the state and private individuals. The Protection of Civil Rights Act, 1955, was enacted to enforce this. The PUDR versus the Union of India case highlighted that this right is enforceable against private individuals too. The Appabaluingali case confirmed that untouchability is an indirect form of slavery. Article 18 abolishes titles. It prohibits the state from conferring any title, except military or academic distinctions. Indian citizens are also prohibited from accepting titles from foreign states. The Balaji Raghavan case is key here, where the Supreme Court upheld the validity of national awards, like Bharat Ratna, stating they are not titles within the meaning of Article 18, but awards for meritorious service. Now, let's explore the right to freedom, covered from Article 19 to 22. Article 19 guarantees 6 fundamental freedoms to all citizens. Freedom of speech and expression, assembly, association, movement, residence, and profession. These are not absolute and are subject to reasonable restrictions. For freedom of speech, the Romesh Thapar case established its importance for a democratic society. A modern landmark is the Shreya single case, which struck down Section 66A of the IT Act. As unconstitutional, the Bennett-Coleman case is crucial for understanding freedom of the press. Article 20 provides protection in respect of conviction for offenses. It has 3 clauses: no ex post facto law, no double jeopardy, and no self. The Nandini Setpathy case expanded the scope of the right against self-incrimination to the stage of police investigation. The Salvi versus State of Karnataka case declared narcoanalysis and brain mapping tests as unconstitutional violations of this right. Makbul Hussain explains the scope of double jeopardy. Article 21 is the heart of the fundamental rights, declaring that no person shall be deprived of his life or personal liberty except according to procedure established by law. Initially interpreted narrowly in the A.K. Gopalan case, its scope was phenomenally expanded by the Maneka Gandhi case. The court ruled that the procedure must be just, fair, and reasonable, not arbitrary. This interpretation has allowed the judiciary to read many unenumerated rights into Article 21, such as the right to a dignified life in Francis Coralie Mullen, the right to privacy in the Puttaswamy case, and even the right to die with dignity through passive euthanasia in the Common Cause case. Flowing from Article 21, we have Article 21A, the right to education. Inserted by the 86th Amendment, it makes free and compulsory education a fundamental right for all children between the ages of 6 and 14. The groundwork for this was laid in the Mohini Jain and Anni Krishnan cases, where the court had already recognized the right to education as a part of Article 21. Article 22 provides protection against arrest and detention. It grants rights like being informed of the grounds of arrest, the right to consult a legal practitioner, and production before a magistrate within 24 hours. This does not apply to enemy aliens or persons under preventive detention. The journey from A.K. Gopalan to Maneka Gandhi, passing through the dark chapter of a D.M. Jabalpur during the emergency, shows the evolution of judicial thought on personal liberty. Next is the right against exploitation, Articles 23 and 24. Article 23 prohibits traffic in human beings and forced labor, or begar. It's available against both the state and private persons. The Puda versus Union of India case clarified that paying less than the minimum wage amounts to forced labor. Sangate Roy versus State of Rajasthan echoed this principle. Article 24 prohibits the employment of children below the age of 14 in factories, mines, or other hazardous activities. The MC Mehta versus State of Tamil Nadu case led to detailed guidelines on child labor and rehabilitation. The Bondua Muktimorka case was pivotal in addressing the issue of bonded labor, linking it to Articles 21 and 23. Now, for the right to freedom of religion. Articles 25 to 28. Article 25 grants all persons the freedom of conscience and the right to freely profess, practice, and propagate religion, subject to public order, morality, and health. The Shuru Mutt case defined the essential religious practices doctrine. The Bajo Emanuel case upheld the right to silence as part of freedom of speech, even in the context of the national anthem. The recent Sabarimala case is a crucial study on the conflict between religious freedom and the right to equality. Article 26 gives every religious denomination the right to manage its own affairs. Article 27 prohibits the state from compelling any person to pay taxes for the promotion of a particular religion. And Article 28 deals with religious instruction in educational institutions. The Aruna Roy case is relevant here. Moving to cultural and educational rights. Articles 29 and 30. Article 29 protects the interests of minorities by giving any section of citizens with a distinct language, script, or culture the right to conserve it. Article 30 gives all minorities, whether based on religion or language, the right to establish and administer educational institutions of their choice. The relationship between these rights and state regulation has been extensively debated in the TMA PA, Islamic Academy, and PA in Amdar trilogy of cases. Finally, we arrive at Article 32, the right to constitutional remedies. Dr. Ambedkar called this the heart and soul of the Constitution. It allows individuals to move the Supreme Court directly for the enforcement of their fundamental rights. The court can issue writs, like habeas corpus, mandamus prohibition, certiorari, and quo warranto. Its importance as part of the basic structure was affirmed in Keshovananda. The ADM Jabalpur case where the right was suspended, remains a stark reminder of its significance. Articles 33, 34, and 35 are concluding provisions. Article 33 empowers Parliament to restrict the fundamental rights of members of armed forces and intelligence agencies. Article 34 provides for restrictions on rights while martial law is in force. And Article 35 gives Parliament, and not state legislatures, the exclusive power to make laws on certain matters related to fundamental rights. The Kedarnath Singh case, though related to sedition, touches upon the legislative powers concerning fundamental rights. And that completes our article-by-article tours of the fundamental rights. Remember, for the UPSC exam, it's not just about knowing the articles, but understanding their evolution and interpretation through these landmark cases. I hope this detailed breakdown was helpful. Make sure to revise these concepts thoroughly. Thank you for watching. If you found this video useful, please give it a thumbs up, subscribe to our channel for more in-depth content, and hit the notification bell. See you in the next lecture.